Right.
So you're actually not going to solve the problem.
Oh, you're not
So,
going to solve the problem, and also you're going to be fed a lot of misinformation, disinformation that about this because that emotion's on edge, and you're receptive to
what's even
things that
worse,
line up, and we've talked about that
what's
too.
even worse is, and this goes back to Lacan's notion the big other doesn't exist. You could be fed it because the system is closed, and the people feeding it to you believe it as well because they're projecting. So it's like it's a bubble of projection where it's not that someone is, man, I'm going to stir up these morons so they'll, make me some money. It can literally be, everybody within that bubble, within that tribal system, is splitting and is not really thinking and feeling their way through the concerns that they have. And what makes
Wow.
that worse is because if the big other did exist, we could get rid of the bad guy and everything would be fine. But there is no bad guy to get rid of.
We just need to have that. So, yeah, I totally get that. But we need we need the scapegoat, don't we? I mean,
Well,
can we
and that's
exist
where,
without the scapegoat? I would love to see what happens.
and that's where, like, we can't go a podcast on mentioning Zizek, but Zizek gave a talk a week ago, and he said it really bothers him when people call Trump a fascist because that's lazy, because they're looking backwards without thinking about what he represents that is new. And whatever this is something different than whatever flavor, whatever you want to say before. And in doing that, they don't come up with a proper response to this. They're not learning the lesson of history. And if it isn't learned, it'll keep happening over and over again. And that takes us back to that idea of the window. We have to find some way we have to be broad enough to be able to experience what we experience and then do something with it. And if we think in our mind, well, and that's why, so if we just get rid of Trump, and no, he's a symptom. He didn't just
Mm-hmm.
create this whole mess. And I'm sure there are cynical manipulations involved, and maybe he himself is cynically manipulating things. But it's also possible that he truly believes these things to the extent that
Mm-hmm.
he seems mercurial in his beliefs.
Yep.
But whatever may, but there is something that needs to be done, and if we're unable to suffer enough to feel what we need to feel, if we don't get better at the necessary suffering, then it will continue over and over again. For us, and for instance, you talk about the MAGA folk and the MAGAverse. Is that the thing? The MAGAverse?
I hope not.
That's
But go ahead.
it's about the MAGAverse. The goal, if you don't learn a lesson from history, if you simply point to them and say they're idiots. There's something that they are, whatever they may be, there is something that they're bringing into the world, and we have to find a way to be able to experience it, contain it in such a way that then we can be able to answer it or do something with it. We have to have a dialogue. Splitting never generates that dialogue.
Yeah, we're never going to get anywhere with the splitting idea. It seems like because we use that to avoid what we have to deal with. Those are interesting things. You said something. Maybe it was last week or so, but something about granularity, like emotional granularity.
That's one
And
of my favorite terms.
I want to
Yeah.
hear more about that.
It's
so,
like,
so this fits in what we're talking about because granular means finer and finer particles and so forth like that, so that your range of emotions is broader, but also the depth of it seems like. So you can manage this input of constant crazy emotions that everybody goes jump off the roof about. Maybe you can somehow manage that a little better.